All right, Adam. Yeah, you ready to talk a little bit about the Fields Golf Club?
Let's do it. Can't
All right.
wait.
All right, in five, four, three, two.
Tricks, you know what I'm talking about? That lettuce, huh? That lettuce. Gotta get it. Gotta get it. That lettuce, huh? That lettuce, huh? Focused all on the check. Yeah. All I want is lettuce. Yeah, just give me the lettuce. Yeah, just give me the lettuce.
Let us heads, we are back with another edition of Please Let Us Golf, the podcast. And boy, do we have a great one tonight. You got Goldie, you got Adam. I always say we have a great one, but I truly mean it. We're not lying tonight. Adam and I, we're going to be debriefing you on a recent day trip we had to the Fields Golf Club in LaGrange, Georgia, a course that has been rapidly growing in recognition and popularity over the last few years, especially if you're down here in the Southeast. We'll get into a little bit of the hows and whys of that. And the best part is, look, at Please Let Us Golf, we like to talk about some of our travels. Some of that stuff's a little pricey, but this is a public golf course. It is affordable for everyone, and it's an absolute gem of a property. It's a super unique experience, but and not to mention just not the golf course just itself. They're doing a lot of other stuff too. Like we got a TrackMan range out there now, lighted, new short game practice areas, and outdoor bar setups coming. So I'm not here to do a sales pitch for them, but I'm a believer that this is truly going to be like an ultimate stay and play location, for anybody regionally in the area, and maybe a travel destination location in the years to come. But tonight, Adam, I'm really excited because it's two birds with one stone. We're not just going to be talking about the golf course. We're going to be deep diving with the owner operator of the course itself, but also the challenges, mechanics, and inner workings of running a successful daily fee public golf course. You hear all the time, you can't make money in golf. This is difficult, especially in the public sphere. So we're going to pick his brain a little bit, some things they're doing outside of the box. And I can't wait. This is going to be an interesting one. So, let us heads. Without further ado, please welcome to the podcast the owner operator of the Fields Golf Club and genuine peak hard ass working American. I truly mean that. Go check it out. They're busting their ass. So, Mr. Ashley Young. Ashley, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Doing great, man.
Good.
So first, thanks for the time. I know you're busy as can be. You're up all hours of the day. I don't know if you're doing all your own social media posting, but between between that and maintaining that property, it's got to be a lot of work. For the uninitiated, I mentioned in the Southeast, like a lot of people know about the Fields now. The last few years, you've had notoriety from the fried egg and no laying up, and it kind of this becomes this Atlanta hipster golf destination. But now, here I'm not in the Atlanta area, even though I'm in Georgia. It's becoming a lot of word of mouth, even where I'm at, and I'm sure where you guys are kind of on the Georgia Alabama border, some more regional interests as well. But give us a little context and background how the Fields came to be and how you got into where you are today.
Let's see. How far back should we
Yeah,
go?
you go for you can go to the origins of who designed this course and then what happened after that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of this might be repetitive, but we'll start. Quick rundown. My dad, Mike Young, golf course architect. It was his first design, so I was actually out here on property when I was in third or fourth grade. When it was just dirt. Remember being out there on a dozer and goofing around with the shapers and stuff like that. Just walking around with dad, no clue I'd ever be back here like 30 years later. So jump to that. We were 2008 housing crisis hit. Nobody was building golf courses. And so dad's business was kind of, every architect and builder's business was kind of down. Like a lot of golf courses were going under. So a lot of them were built for the housing markets. Big golf boom, but it was really driven by that and not by demand for golf. We always liked the Fields. We were doing some work for receiverships for the banks, just from a lot of management companies ran courses, but marketing, trying to get bodies on the course. And these guys really needed somebody just to keep the course alive from degrading until they could sell them. So they were taking bank-owned properties. So we were working with a few of those, and the Fields had got into a state of disrepair. a good owner. He had done some good things, but he was kind of over it, looking to get out, and heard what we were doing because of the connection to Dad and some people down here, and said, hey, could y'all come take a look at this, see if you could help us out. I went down with him, and I was like, I have no interest in this really, Dad, down in LaGrange. And I was living up in Highlands, North Carolina at the time, running a facility up there. And
yeah, Highlands, North Carolina, LaGrange is probably very, very similar.
Yeah. So he came down here, and Dad's always good with vision. I mean, that's how his routing is just what he does. And sometimes we work well together because he'll see things before I do. And a lot of times I'm more on the execution end, and he's got a good vision. And he kind of saw it. He's like, look, it's a good routing. I think we can make this work. But it was really almost out of business. And I think there was less than 10 members when I got here. I mean, some days we were doing, 10, 20 rounds kind of thing. I mean, it was a struggle. And so I operated on a lease for a few years. I'm trying to see if it's something we could make work. And it actually, you mentioned Andy, the fried egg. He came down one day. It was in December, and I still hadn't bought the place yet outright. I'm still running it like we owned it on a lease, but there's certain things I couldn't do. I wasn't going to put my money into it until we had it. And Andy came down, and I didn't really know who he was too much. Andy's like, this podcast dude's coming down, and and whatever. And I'm like the only one in the shop, me and my friend that was working with me at the time, and it's raining. There's nobody else on the course, and he shows up with one of his buddies from California and introduces himself, and he's like, hey, can we go out and play? And I'm like, absolutely, man, but it's wet out there. It's dormant. It's whatever. He's like, and so you give them a cart. They're the only two people on the course. They go out and play. I mean, the bunkers are awful. I mean, it's the middle of winter, and I start Googling who he is a little bit, like, while he's out there playing. And by the time he comes around, I'm like, oh, we're so screwed. Like, this is terrible. And like a month later, he puts this article out, and it was just how much he liked the place. He kind of overlooked. He was just looking at it from architecture and potential and routing and how firm everything was, what we'd done with the layout. And all of a sudden people, not a lot, but people started coming like, hey, if Andy said this is good. And then it just, to this day, we've never ran an ad other than maybe the local football program just for fundraising, which, I don't know if anybody's ever seen one of those ads. Everything's been word of mouth. So appreciate you guys having us on, because this kind of stuff really does make an impact. And people like yourselves just coming down and seeing it, talking to each other. And we try to really just treat everybody like they're a member for the day and make it feel at home. But that kind of started this waterfall of people coming down to see it. And he definitely lended some legitimacy. And then I really kind of fallen in love with the place at that time and saw Dad's vision. And I was able to purchase it about 5 years ago. And then we were able to take our kind of tools we had in the toolbox of our shapers and our crews and being a single owner. My dad just moved down here, but he didn't live here at the time. But I didn't have to go to a committee to make a decision. I didn't have, if a tree needed to come down or a bunker needed to come out. Like, we talked about it that morning. It was gone that afternoon.
You didn't have the board member or the guy that's been sitting on it for 30 years that's vetoed every tree removal proposal that there's been. Yeah,
that's right. And then having Dad there where he could come down and look at it, and we would talk, and we're usually going in the same direction, but I'll go around the right, he goes around the left, and we get to where we're going. But we kind of had a master plan in our heads of what it could be. And just as we had the resources or the time, we would just keep knocking something off. And I think people enjoyed that too as they were coming down. Like, it's still not in the shape I want it. It's in probably the best shape it's ever been right now. But every time somebody came back, they saw us like physically working on something, doing something. So every time they were coming back, it was changing in a positive direction. And people would bring a friend, and then that friend would come back and bring another friend. And it's just kind of snowballed in the last year or two. It's really taking off.
And a couple things too, like interesting. I know you guys, like you said, you're not out there pushing a massive marketing budget or agenda. But one thing, and this is kind of derailing into something I was planning like way later in the pod, but you guys are very, very good at social media. And one frustration I've had with a lot of courses, I won't name any courses here to dox them in a negative way, of man, there's a lot of good bones, a lot of actually a lot of committed play, and on a public type of golf course, and they've just can't get out of their own way. Hey, it's the same 10 locals that are going to keep this place afloat, and you can just see it slowly dying. And you guys have done a really good job of even like your Instagram. It's not just yeah, drone video is cool, pictures are cool, golf shots are cool, but the behind the scenes of I went back and watched a couple the other night of just walking through, hey, these are the native grasses, this is the invasive, this is what we're trying to do. And like that, to me, for me, it amplifies my experience, because then when I'm there, I can kind of be like, oh, I could see what they're working on here. But that property, when you first crest behind the clubhouse and you get that open expanse, like I've used the Lasonia Links comp. So Lasonia Links, I don't know how familiar you are with it. In Wisconsin, of like this kind of unassuming property that then opens up to you and you're like, oh, whoa, like where am I? This isn't the $500 round core, property. Even local buddies, I've shown some pictures and videos, and these are guys that are not like hipster golfers, right? These are middle Georgia guys that are they're just trying to go play their money game on Wednesday. And I showed some pictures, videos, and they're like, where the hell is this place? And I'm like, man, I'm telling you guys, like it is a unique golf experience I haven't seen in the state of Georgia, especially at least for public golf, where you just come in and you have that expanse. I mean, it's very similar to me to some Wisconsin courses we've played. It kind of has, old Barnwell vibes to it, of you just get that reveal. And that's such a big deal to me.
It's very unique in Georgia, where just about everywhere you play, it feels like it's everything's tree lined, or, you got residential OB on both sides. We play a local course that's kind of like that. And this property just being kind of wide open and expansive, it's like, I mean, you said it, it's one of the most like unique golfing experiences that you can get, not only in Georgia, but I feel like the Southeast. There's a lot of tree line pine courses, and this is firm, fast greens. It's just, yeah, you're not going to get this experience, hardly anywhere else in the Southeast. It's just fun.
And Ashley, so like is the and this is where my naivete on the maybe architecture and design and agronomy side, I should say, comes in. But is it just like an awesome sand basin you guys have out there that has enabled that firmness, or what is it?
It's
clay.
Yeah, because like that red
Yeah,
clay is everywhere. That's
yeah.
but then how? I just want to know then how.
I mean, some of it's luck, some of it's work and agronomy, but like right now the fairways are as good as they've ever been. That's been a couple of years of us trying to get, because that was a thing from like, the locals and a lot of the seniors. Like, we like to mow everything tight and keep it firm, keep it rolling. But a lot of people are like, we want some grass to hit off up, kind of thing. So we've been on now that we've got some budget to work with, we have started the last few seasons, and this season we went early just with, actually like fertilizing, liming in the winter, aerification, those kind of programs. But we really have to take advantage of the rain. Like the fairways, we haven't watered in 10 years, other than a few times I've turned on heads in 12 and 14, but we don't have the water. So it's all very natural out here. So it stays firm because of that, because there's not a lot of huge buildup of organic material under there. Whereas if you were fertilizing, aerifying all the time, watering these things all the time, they'd be a lot more lush. You'd have a lot more organic matter under there. But right now we've had a really wet spring, and we timed our fertilizer apps. Now you come out in July, we run through a 3-week dry stretch. It's going to be firm, but that's going to back down to some heat dormancy. You're going to have a little more of a, brown look to it, but we don't mind it. We're not chasing color. We're chasing a surface. That's what I always tell the guys. But so it plays well like that, but aesthetically, some people don't like it. They don't get it. And it's easy, I think, for some places to go chase that. And I think one thing that we've done well at, and it took some time to mature into it, was just like, hey, we can't be everything to everybody. Like, we're going to do what we do, and the people that get us and like it, they're going to bring like-minded people, and we're never going to get those other people on our budget. We don't really want to be that place as far as some of those things, because agronomically it would change it. We want to stay a public course. We want to stay affordable. So we don't want to get it like, sure, if I was charging $100 greens fees, and we might could get it if we did those things, but then it takes this kind of course out of play for some people. So I don't know, that's a roundabout answer, I guess, but some of it's luck, some of it's agronomy.
But you can tell though too, because the last time we played it, it was in more of that very firm what you described, and it was a little browned out, but also we like that, right? Because we know that allows the contours to kind of pop, and you can have more fun and the run out. And it really makes you think off the tee, because it is, like Adam said, it's not OB line, but there is a lot of the fescue or the native grass that you don't want to run through the fairway. So I'm sure when it gets spicy out there, that comes into play even more.
There's some fairways that are almost 600 yards wide, like 1 in 9, and I'll still have guys be like, "When are you going to mow that down on the left?" I'm like, "Dude, you have 600 yards of width out there. Like, aim your tee ball over."
Yeah, just adjust your line.
How much do you want me to mow over here?
Well, but I was taken even on that first tee of excuse me, well, first of all, the single cut through the course. I mean, from a maintenance perspective, like that, I don't, to me, it aesthetically pops. I wish more courses would just go to it. I don't know how much that, if that makes it easier on you guys in the crew of like from a maintenance perspective or not. But to me, that rolling look of, you get off of one and it's cut back to like where the 2 tee boxes, and like it's just, to me, like, oh man, this is all I want out of a golf course. It's got that great aesthetic pop. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't love the third hole, but that's another question for another day. But outside of that, we'll give you a 1-hole pass.
The third hole is everybody's either they hate it or they love it. There's so many people that have been like, third hole, I love it, third hole, and then there are people like, I can't stand that hole.
It seems like it would be like incredibly hard to maintain, like that green just being tucked away back there in like a shaded area down in that little just like low area of the property.
Yeah, it's our biggest problem, green, for sure. But we've already started on it. It's about to get resodded here in a few weeks. And we took about 100 trees out over there on the right this winter with morning sun. So winter shade is really what hurts that green. Not a lot of air circulation. So in the winter, when it gets cold, that's our coldest green. Stays wet. But yeah, agronomically, that's probably our toughest green. But that hole is going to be a sleeper. It's when we get done with it, that complex is going to look really good.
Okay, we'll see.
We'll see a pond back there. There used to be a pond behind it. It blew out in a storm. The dam did. So when we get that fixed, there'll actually be water all behind it, which really messes with your depth perception. Right now, you've got this backdrop of trees. It's not really coming into play, but when you're hitting that shot from up top, the green just looks like it's tucked right next to it, and it looks like it's sitting on an island back there. It'll totally change the look on the approach of that hole.
Yeah, I think I missed that green by like 2 feet, and it was bye-bye golf ball for me.
Eject button a little bit there on the right. Okay, 10 grew on me this time. The first time I went, I didn't, but it made more sense to me. I actually really like the idea of, like, how far do you really want to push it up? Because I mean, we were playing back, and so like, how far do you want to push it up to the creek? Like, how important is it to you to have a 3-wood, 5-wood hybrid opportunity? Because I guess if you push it up, you could get in the 230 range to it. I get, but you're risking a lot getting that close too, right? So like, I think I ended up in that 255 range. But
you just want to talk about the 5-wood that you hit into that green.
I didn't, but I had I had a prodigious high drawing 5-wood. We thought it might have gone in, but it was a yard short. But that back nine, just as Adam would say, slaps. But that back nine really has just an awesome cadence to it of just, you're on your toes the whole time. You're hitting an iron off of a par 5, then you got a hook shot on 11, and then you got the Biarritz coming on 12, and then a shorty par 3, and then it brings you back into the diabolical 90-degree turn on 14, and then 15 that's it through the chute. 16 is like a Pinehurst number 2 par 3, 17 uphill par 5 with the rock out, 18 epic closer. I mean, that back 9 is seriously primo golf.
Yeah,
so
17 in the afternoons is one of my favorites for sure. 10's the weirdest hole out here. I think it's aesthetically, it's one of the weaker ones right now. You're coming around the back, you go there, it's a weird layup. So a couple reasons for that. Just the clubhouse originally here when the course was routed. So they ran the pro shop out of the maintenance barn that's in the parking lot. And this was built about 2 or 3 years after the course was done. So the original 10T is basically sitting inside the bar now, where it was sitting.
Let's restore that baby. Let's launch it.
Then you were also playing a lot of balls back then and different woods. So technology were about 30 yards longer. The tee's 40 something yards shorter. So you used to get hit driver back when it was routed from back here. We could still tee it up. Like some events we will still tee off the lawn, the event lawn out there, but public play, we can't do that because you've got golf carts coming through and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, we were just having a conversation before we jumped on here about possibly moving the tees forward on 10 and making it an even shorter par 5, where you really could put driver back in somebody's hands and have to make the choice of, do I want to go over the pond or do I want to lay up down there? Because who really cares if they're laying up with a 7-iron or a 4-iron, but all of a sudden you move them forward a little bit, change the angle, you really make somebody think. And it would give us some more property to put some more event space / practice game area close to the clubhouse where we could recapture some land, not weaken the hole, maybe even make it stronger. And then when we had tournaments or events, we could still tee it way back here, but we could change that tee a lot more if we put at least some optional forward tees and spice 10 up a little bit. So 10's one we're going to be working on. We've got a few other holes out there we're going to be doing some work too, but it's funny you brought up 10 because we were literally just talking about it before I jumped on here.
But what do you think it is about the field? Because there's some quirks to it. Like you said, it's your dad's first course, and you guys have been making some changes. But like, even like the tee shot on 11, I think we went to the back tee. I don't know if there's a hidden tee, but you're hitting I mean, there's like a tree right there, right? There's like a tree right there. So you're like aiming at the property line and having to really hit a hook shot. But what's so funny is like, I feel like most golf courses I'd go to, I'd be like, I would take a potential issue with it, but for some reason it just works out there. Like all the little idiosyncrasies that some play, that's where I actually have confidence with some of these guys I've mentioned that are more your weekday, weekend warriors, not really caring about architecture, not really caring about some of the things we've discussed. But I think if they experience it, like, man, this is just fun. And isn't that what it's supposed to be in the end?
It's supposed to be fun, and I think the weekend warriors do care about it. They just don't know.
They don't know they care. Why?
They don't know why they care about it. So your point earlier about the one height of cut, like, it is easier on us, but to me that was a huge architectural decision because a lot of the architecture was hidden in your rough cuts and your mow lines. So when I got here, they did mow it out. There was 3-inch rough in some places because they didn't have the equipment or the staff to always go out and mow it. So you get this Bermuda rough in some places. Then that would cause it to hold moisture in low areas around the greens. They weren't mowing it tight. So like 9, the left side of 9, it used to be you had about 6 feet, one pass on the left of it. And then on that hill, all those hills, it was 2.5-inch rough on those hills. And you were mowed around. So you're looking at it. It didn't look good because you've got to send 2 cutting units out there. So you got to have 2 operators, 2 units. And then it's holding more moisture. You got tire tracks going through there, all that kind of stuff. Then you're looking down the fairway. So like 1 and 9 fairway, there was mow lines. There was rough all in the middle. There were some trees, some cedars that were out there left. So one of the first things I did was we went out there and selectively cut trees, not like big swaths, but where one is in your eye line, like the tree you're talking about on 11, that probably wasn't there. That tree's not 25 years ago. That was a small little tree. somebody could have planted it, could have been there, but it wouldn't have been that big canopy that it is now. And so over time, it's come in. Some of those tees were added. So again, the ball length is playing a little different, but trees like that, aesthetically, we would take out a small tree and you wouldn't, it's not in play like that one is, but just aesthetically, when you looked out through there, it'd break up your eye line across that sweeping property, and you didn't get the same feel. And the mow lines, when you're looking out there, 1 and 9, for instance, would be split. So you're just looking at the mow lines. It's different. You can aesthetically, you didn't get the same ridge coming up through there. You couldn't connect the property with your eye from like 20,000 feet view kind of thing. So we went to one height of cut. Yes, much easier for maintenance, weed control. I can take one unit and mow 60 acres with old Toro pull gangs instead of having to have lightweight units. I can just send a guy out more unskilled where he's not choosing that mow line. We can get a lot more done, but it made it firmer where now your features in the fairways, you can play these bank shots where off of a thing and let it roll back, to where before, if you hit it over there, you're stuck in some rough and the ball just stopped. So it would be firm underneath there, but you weren't getting any of the fun playing features from the firmness. So going to that one height of cut, getting rid of key trees really just opened it up aesthetically to where that golfer didn't mean anything to him, but now he doesn't even know why it looks better, but it looks better.
But we had Brian Schneider on the pod, and we kind of talked about a couple of these topics a little bit too of, like, hey, a lot of times it's just the golfer not knowing why. And that's like the trying to guide them in a way that's a little bit more approachable than just like the inside baseball kind of gatekeeper speak of, well, this is why you actually might like this. And why, I told him a little litmus test of, someone says, oh, I really like that hole, or I like this. You should, well, why do you like, oh, it's the short par 4 and I had to make this decision. But if I took on this line, it opened up this angle to the ground. I'm like, okay, so you are into this stuff. You just don't know it yet. So I definitely get that. I want to jump into some of these questions of like the business side, right? Like you hear all the time, we teed up early on of, you can't make money in golf. And I'll be honest. So I've come from a background where I like to learn the hard way. And I'm sure you could tell me the horror stories of the difficulties and like the work that is required. But some of my frustrations of basic things when I go to golf courses are like, oh, I would do that different. I wouldn't tolerate that. I would do this. Now, granted, it's not my course. I'm not running it. So it's easy to armchair quarterback. But like, before I get into the big bucket of like, why are they all idiots? No, where does the biggest cost come from of running a golf course?
Labor for sure is our biggest cost. In most courses, that's going to be where it's at. And most of your elite courses, I mean, their labor budgets are crazy. So labor, it's really a lot of labor out there, whether it's a guy on a weed eater, a guy on a unit. Like, you've got to have people physically out there, doing certain things. So labor is your number one cost, the clubhouse, all that stuff too.
So is I guess on the labor side, I know you guys said you have an interesting watering program. So I know water, sometimes that creeps up into the calculus as well. But like on the labor front, I'm sure it's a double-edged sword though, right? Because it's not only expensive, but it's probably pretty hard to like recruit and retain reliable folks because it's hard work, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
So, and that's where I think some of the adage comes from the public golf scene of you can't make money, but it really the successful kind of owner operator golf courses I know of, there's one common thread. There's someone like you who is running it on a day-to-day basis, because you really can't outsource that. Even if you had the means to do it. I know you kind of mentioned this to me a little bit in passing. I wanted to dive into it a little deeper on the pod of you couldn't find somebody that would have the give a shit factor that the owner would.
Yeah.
And even if you did, the amount of money you'd have to pay them, and they would really just be using it as a building block to go on to the marquee name thing, right? like, well, how do you do it on the public side if you're not Bandon Dunes or Sand Valley, where you're running this massive resort operation? What is that calculus to be successful from a financial perspective? I know there's a certain amount of rounds. I'm assuming. Like, how specific are you getting? Like, is it just happening, or you got targets of like, I need to get this many rounds, I need to have this price point?
If anything, we've got as many rounds as we want right now. I don't want to put. I think you've got to decide. Like, I don't know. There's so many. I don't know. I already have so many things to say about what you just said.
No,
but
that's what we're here for, because I think I have a model idea that does it opposite, and I'm just very curious of what the logic train is there for you guys.
I think one thing is, like, first in golf, you've got to. It all gets lumped together. Like, we'll all go play. I mean, I know all three of us have had access to super high-end courses. We've traveled. You've gotten to play some great courses. We've also been to the local munis and the dog tracks, and probably had just as much fun at all of them. But they're not the same animal. But somebody will go to their buddy's country club, or you go on a trip to Bandon, and then you come back to a place like the Fields, and they're like, why can't they do that? And it's easy to say it's money, but there's three different models: a high-end country club, a resort course, and then a public course. It's kind of like going out to eat, and you're like, you go to McDonald's and you get some fries, and you go to this 5-star Michelin place and you get some duck fat fries, and you're like, why doesn't McDonald's do that? Like, it's not the same thing, and it's not just money. It's like what they're trying to be. Like, McDonald's is trying to feed a lot of people at a certain price and still give them, what you're getting. And in this other place, it is an owner-operator thing a lot of times, that kind of restaurant where, and McDonald's is running these places all over, and golf's kind of like that. You've got management companies running a lot of these resorts. You've got country clubs that are run by a board, and they make decisions differently. And then you've got the public places, and publics. I think it really, at the end of the day, is a mom and pop business to be successful. I think it's really hard for a course to go. And there's some great management companies out there, and there's some great people, but when you start running 2 and 3 of these things, you are looking at those numbers, because that's what that guy's being paid to do. That's what the superintendent and the pro are judged on, those criteria, and they've got to look at rounds. They've got to look at these metrics that they're being judged on. So I can be like, I don't care that I played XYZ rounds last January versus this January. I know in my head this January my greens were covered for 2 weeks, and last year it was 60 degrees. Like, I don't need a metric to tell me why it's different. I'm just trying to put the best product out there every day and get incrementally better. So, but yeah, and labor wise, like you said, for me to go hire a superintendent right now that I trusted and could do the job, they probably do a way better job than I do, but they're still going to have to come to me to ask certain decisions. At some point, they're going to do well here and be like, hey, I got this offer because of what I'm doing at the Fields. And then they're gone, and you start back over training somebody else. So to have 12 years of continuity that we've had of this plan where I can roll it out, like, hey, I know where, like, already in my head, I know what I want to do the next 5 years. I'm not thinking of selling this place. I'm not looking for another job. I'm solely focused on this is where I want to be. I don't care who I hire. They've got a family. They've got kids. They've got their own career. They don't know if we're not going to sell it. They're going to do. They're always going to have to be looking out for themselves, and they're going to need guidance. So unless you're really organized and you really got somebody that's bought in, which I think the good places too that have a good, philosophy, we get people bought in, but it's hard to just outsource all that and be like, yeah, I own this. I mean, Dad's built about 45 golf courses, and I've seen all walks of life they own, but most of the owners made their money doing something else. Coming in, they want to buy a place, and they're kind of running it from afar, and they're putting people in, and that's different, because then you do have to turn a profit where it's enough for them and they're getting a return, and they're going to be in there and show up and say, hey, I want to do X, Y, or Z, or why are you not thinking? And a lot of times they're not even golf business people. So I think a lot of the successful ones at our level, I mean, it almost has to be an owner operator that's connected. It might be a golf pro that knows that side of the business, but he knows he's there every day in the face and he can see it. I've seen some good ones too that are come from a superintendent background where but they know the grass side of the business, but they've got somebody up front they trust, but still they're hands-on and they can kind of execute that vision. I think there's not enough meat on the bone at a certain price point. You can only put so many rounds out. You can only charge so much. So if you're in a market like us, if you're in Atlanta, Chicago, there's some different metrics, but a lot of people where they're playing golf at these places and at small towns like ours, there's only so much you can push the math. And then after that, you've got to fit everything into your budget. So I think it really is at our level to do some things like we do. It has to be your baby.
So how do you strike that balance of, so you said, like, obviously you guys are in a relatively rural area, like you said, and you're trying to keep that in your mind and your calculus of your budget and what's practical. But as you do get notoriety and popularity, like, how do you self-govern? Because I know you said you have a North Star. We want to be something. We want to be accessible. Yeah, we probably could do these things and push the pace faster. But it is an interesting calculus because it's a pretty special property, and I'm sure the more you do kind of put that pedal down, it probably puts more pressures and stressors on to do some of these other things. But also the property is unique in that a lot of these other places don't really have the bones to where if they did that, it could happen. So, I mean, as you're doing these incremental changes year in and year out, is it more through the guise of, hey, I know I'm going to take care of the locals and they're just going to like the product? And I'm going to focus these projects on what might attract some more external folks, or is it more of just like, well, the model is going to be predicated on we want to have the notoriety and the events and the revenue stream from the Atlanta crowds, the Alabama crowds, the Macon Middle Georgia crowd. I guess again, it's more rhetorical but does it put you in kind of a bind of I could just see like the look, I'm kind of from a rural area too, like the locals that have been out there for 20 years that have given you shit about this is too firm and fast. Well, the sickos in Atlanta like it. I mean, what are some of those kind of decision points that, either keep you up at night? Maybe it's not life or death, but if we did this, we could be, because I go to like, I'm not just saying this, you said like Sweetens Cove model where it's like day passes. And I left, we were driving back and I told Adam, I was like, man, they're not very far away where they could just be doing Saturday, Sunday day passes. Come out, you have the course for the day, and like it's approaching that level. So just, I know there's a lot. I have a long-winded.
I think you had your cameras on earlier today or something, because
yeah,
I won't say the golf course, but you said it already. But there were some guys down here earlier. That's who we were standing out there with, and they were stoking me to like the day pass thing. Like you need to, you could do this like one weekend a month and all that. And so we're looking at some of those kind of things. I think ultimately, to answer your question on how we juggle we want to be a public golf course. I think there should be access to these kind of things. And I don't say that from an altruistic standpoint. I mean, went over to Europe, over to, Scotland, Ireland. And when I got back from Scotland the first time, and I really just went over there studying golf courses. And what I loved about outside the architecture was just like the laid backness of golf over there. I mean, so I learned a lot I love the way they maintain golf courses over there. They're not chasing color. There's multiple grasses out there. There even some ones that are just world class, and how they take care of these things but just the feel, I mean, of it's accessible. And I came back and really changed that trip, changed my view on a lot of things. And ultimately, I think golf is a hospitality business. So when you come out, like, I want to be known as like how we make people feel. And I think that's from the architecture to the food to when you walk in the pro shop. Like, is the golf course welcoming? Yes, playability wise, but do you feel comfortable just being out there and it not being stuffy? Do you feel, when you get done, is it, I don't want people to feel like they're being sold to. So we want to keep it accessible. Yeah, maybe the rate at some point will have to go up to do some things we want to do. But I think somebody told me one time they were in real estate, and they were like, no matter where you price yourself at what you're doing, they were like, always be a value. So he was actually the sales manager for 30 years at Reynolds Plantation. He was like, we were a value when we were selling $10,000 lots, and now we're selling $1 million lots by the Ritz-Carlton, but it's still a value to somebody at that level. It's like there's a level when you get off and you're not. So I think our goal is to always be a value where when people come, they're like, I got my money's worth out here. But I think the hospitality is a huge part of it, accessibility. So as we go forward, I'm sure some things will change, but to your point about locals, I mean, back to that, when we were here, this place was not doing well when I first got here. And that was completely supported by locals. And this town couldn't support them. We got Callaway Gardens down the road. There's a private country club. We're right in the middle of Noonan, Auburn, and Columbus, Georgia. So there was a lot of public golf around us. And the fields kind of had a bad rap locally, because it wasn't in great shape, but it was only the locals that were coming out to look and beat a ball around. They didn't care about architecture. Mm-hmm. They just knew they could come out and play for 20-something bucks. And at some point, that's not what we want to be, because this is got my whole life in this. My dad's got his whole life in it. Not just this place, but golf. And for this to be something we're proud of, we can use to showcase public golf. And like most of the courses we built are upscale daily fee courses. They're not resort courses. A lot of people don't know his name, but they're really good courses that most of them are still turning a profit. They're maintenance friendly, all that kind of stuff. So, and that's maintainability. I mean, there's a lot of things you see on TV or some of these high-end places that just the way you do a bunker face, or how much space is in between the bunker and edge of green? Can you fit a triplex through there? Or do you have to walk mow it? Like things that might look good on paper when you're building it if you have the staff, but really building a place you can get out and take care of that thing with a crew of less than 10 people. And so those things are not just architecturally from the golfer side, but architecturally from a superintendent's got to take care of that place. So if you could do that and design one where you can get around. So the fields is really easily maintainable. I couldn't go down the street and do it at another golf course nearby that I know of. I couldn't do what I do here because we couldn't get around it and take care of it. You're going to have a lot of handwork, different things. Some of the work we have done out here, even the bunkers that were here, making them more maintainable as we rebuilt them, that kind of thing. And then, but again, back to your thing on where we're going. I mean, Atlanta, it's not like we're just chasing the Atlanta crowd. They have been great to us. But it is people from outside of our area that are going to support it if we're going to keep doing what we're doing. A lot of people, too, are starting to travel more. I mean, people aren't joining clubs because they don't know where they're going to be in 3 years. And people are getting out and moving around. And if we can keep it at a certain level where people do want to come see us and they tell people about it, and we still want to be here for the locals, but if all that went away, there's still not enough local play to support what we're doing. So it really has been people coming in from out of town, maybe not very far out of town, but it is probably 50-50. So it's not that we're shunning the locals and saying, hey, we don't need you, but it's also, hey, you can't support us. And so, just macroeconomics, you've got to look at some of that too. But
for sure. Adam, I know you kind of had a laundry list of questions, and I've been, as always, dominating everything. Do you got any rapid fires you got want to get off your chest? I know.
Yeah,
we do like to go to a rapid fire section, but doesn't have to be.
I mean, we kind of talked about the maintenance and operations side, and I was just curious, what's the biggest challenge, just maintaining a golf course year round? Is it like the greens, just the day to day, having to baby the greens and just really stay on top of that?
Yeah, the greens are where most of our maintenance budget goes, and that's 365 days a year. So, and you're really having to plan far out. I mean, it's a plant. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. So to get them ready for a tournament 3 weeks down the road, you're having to start, before that. You've got to look at the weather, the rain, all these tools. But there's really good tools that are available that high end. So I've had good luck with. I've been around a lot of people in the business where I have good mentors and people I can call and say, hey, what are you doing? You figure out all right, well, what are they really trying to do, and figure out how you can utilize those tools and technology. But the greens are definitely the biggest. If you don't have the greens, you don't have anything. And so we really try to maintain those playing surfaces. Outside of that, the surrounds, we spend a good bit of time. Then you need a good tee box, and fairways kind of are what they are out here. But I think a lot of times it's just I think the best thing we can do is, and probably the hardest to do for some owners and supers, is just prioritization of like your list. Because you're never going to get, I don't care if you're at Oakmont this weekend, that superintendent has a list and there's stuff at the bottom that he did not get done. And they got all the resources in the world. So I don't care who you are out there running one, there's a list and there's stuff on it you didn't do. So I think really prioritizing, and I think that's something we're really good at, is saying, hey, these are the things we're going to focus on, and this other stuff, I don't care if somebody says something to you, like whatever, we're not worried about it. That's not what we're worried about. Let's focus here. When we get that stuff good, we'll back on out to this one. But as soon as you start trying to do a little bit of everything, it averages out in the wash and the whole thing looks like it. But if you can give people, like when our greens are good and they're like, I was not expecting this coming here, they'll give you some leeway on the other stuff. And then you don't want to lean on that too hard and just phone it in. But I think if you hit the right things and prioritize correctly, that's super helpful as far as the budget and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on it as far as like focusing on the right things, because I think there's a lot of courses out there that don't focus on, the right things. I mean, it's, we go to so many golf courses and it feels like, everything's not really about the golf. It's about all these external things. It's these big, beautiful clubhouses, and at the fields, it's like, the clubhouse is fine, it's understated. You got a nice bar area, but it's it's not this $1 million thing, and like you got all these events. It's like you can tell when you show up, like what is
You're at a golf
important.
club.
What's important there? It's the golf, right?
My buddy, y'all were talking about pulling the gate over. He was giving me crap the other day. He's really nice high-end restaurant down in Columbus called Epic Restaurants, if you're ever down there. So one of the only 4 diamond restaurants in the state outside the city of Atlanta. But he lives right here on the golf course. He helps us, so that he's helping us get our food and beverage stuff going. But he's seen a lot of just great places, and he's got a great eye for like just theater of like things and how the emotions and stuff work with what he does in the restaurant business. And we were out there like cleaning the flower beds and mulching some stuff the other day, and we're starting to get the parking lot cleaned up, and the range is getting finished. And he's like, dude, you need to slow down on this parking lot. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, that's part of the charm. He's like, I love that you pull in and there's like, looks like crap out here sometimes at the front gate, and there's like machinery and piles of sand and it's weedy. And then you get to the back and you're like, what the hell, what's going on? And he's like, don't lose that. He's like, we got to figure out how to keep that. He goes, I understand you need some curb appeal. He's like, but that's part of the charm. So it's funny how the mind works.
Yeah, when we first got on property last week, and I got out of the car, started like taking pictures, videos. Like one of the very first things I took a picture of was the old little, I guess it's the maintenance barn. It just kind of has like a lot of character to it, and I don't know, it's just very rustic. Just kind of, I don't know, it takes you back in time. I don't know, it's cool.
Did you see the Tadmore sign on the side of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he made putters in there for 7 years. That was actually his shop right there.
Oh wow.
So we left the sign. It was there, but he's moved to Selma now. But yeah, back in the day, he lived in LaGrange, and so he was in the old pro shop there. He actually made a lot of putters and wedges out of that parking lot right there.
That's yeah, but I kind of, what your buddy is saying, it makes sense though. It does track, like you come in and it's definitely that reveal aspect to it. I mean, we already talked earlier in the pod when you go walk up to the clubhouse and you don't see the property, and then when you crest and it all opens up, you're like, whoa. And the juxtaposition of that versus just, yeah, it's a little, there's equipment everywhere, sand piles going on, a little old shed over
Yeah.
there. So it's kind of the vibe almost makes sense. But I mean, honestly, again, there's charm and quirk to, again, like this isn't a golf course that was built 4 years ago with the idea of being a hipster golf destination and had, I won't big name backings and the millions being poured into it. So you're going to have that anywhere you go, that where the bones exist. But it is cool. It'll be continually cool to see these incremental changes. And it's still, to me, as a golfer who does go out there, and I do this like all day every day, and that's all I talk about, it's all I think about. I'll travel, I'll pay the money whether I should or shouldn't. It is a fear point because you're seeing these private courses pop up everywhere, and not just any private course. I mean, yeah, you have an old Barnwell that is the difference. Like they have this cool mission, and it's not a $100,000 initiation fee, and they're kind of open to, they want people to come experience it. Okay, that's cool, and we support that. Okay, however, everybody else, it's 100,000, $250,000 memberships, and does this not reek of like, maybe '08 won't happen with a housing crisis, but is this golf bubble eventually going to just pop on its face?
I mean, I think there's always cycles, ups and downs. Yeah, there's definitely times I get scared. Like, what am I doing, man? I could have put this much work into something else and probably been way better off as far as whatever metric you want to look at. But then to your point, it doesn't scare me because I think a place like the Fields, and there's probably a lot of others like us, that if it happened, I actually think it could be a positive for us because you're going to have people that drop their club membership that were on the cusp, and they're going to be looking for a public place. You're going to have other places that are going to start cutting budget. And if it comes down to it, like I did it during COVID, I mean, I'm, not tooting my staff and I's horn, but like I could go out, I could run this place from, I know how to run the cash register. I get out there and still mow greens one day a week. I mix all the spray tanks. Like I'm not dependent on, like we're dependent on people coming and seeing it. But I think if we keep doing what we're doing, but I can run this place enough to keep it alive. I think there are some places with their model that can't. I mean, they get to a point and they are in trouble. So that's one positive we've got going for us, and probably a lot of public golf. Yeah, I think absolutely some of these $50 million projects that are being built, and they've got 100 members, and they're rad. I mean, there's one down the street from us. I won't say the name, but I mean it's a legit golf course. But
Oh, yeah.
what happens when that guy that paid $1 million that can lose the $1 million is just like, I don't want to fly down there anymore. I'm going to this new place over here in so-and-so, or I'm just not golfing anymore. And he leaves, and all of a sudden it's not the cool place. And then it's on the backside of that. And those are the only places getting built right. No, you couldn't go build the Fields right now. You have to buy the Fields, and there's some of them out there. But for what you could buy a place like this for and fix it up is way cheaper. If I wanted to go across the street, buy another 160 acres of land and build another 18 holes, it's going to cost me right now. I mean, today's market, I mean, we just built a course city. I'm going to say price. I probably should say the name, but people know what it is. But I mean, it's over $1.5 million just for the parts to the irrigation system. You could go buy a course in a town like this for $1.5 million with a system in the ground. It might be dilapidated. It might need some work, but you've got the land, the maintenance barn, all that stuff for less than you're just buying the parts for an irrigation system currently. So to go build the Fields, you're spending $10 million, somewhere in that range. So then current interest rates and everything to cash flow it at $25,000, $30,000 rounds, you're charging, you're going to have to be at $100 greens fee to make a place like the Fields work if I built it new today. And then all of a sudden, we're not worth $100 today. There's people that will gladly come pay me, and I appreciate that.
I do want to, and I do appreciate you saying that, but some places that are charging, I think the dirty secret in golf is 75% of places you go play. Like you hit that litmus test for you guys earlier. You always want to be a value, and that's a big part of what we do. We're not just here to rail on places. Like we've gone to some excellent properties, but we get criticized because of that, of like, yeah, it is, but it's still not the volume of $300 to $500 rounds that people are forking out just because it's associated with a resort or an event was
Yeah.
hosted there. That's another part of this bubble that I'm like, man, like, again, we love Dream Golf, Bandon Dunes, second to none. Now that is the real deal, and
Yeah.
they probably should charge more, but everywhere else you go, and I mean, like, I'm not here to rail on Pinehurst, but I'm sure you heard, because I love Pinehurst number 2, my favorite golf course all time. And I'll fight anybody on that. But Pinehurst number 4, they lost their greens here recently. I don't know if you saw that. And we
Yeah.
were just up there in the winter when they were still having people play and people complaining and all that. And now I do get it. You've ran golf courses. You know a lot more of the ecology and the agronomy than I ever will. But it does make me think these places are just like, and when did it happen? When you have 3 new projects going on simultaneously, and it's like, well, you got 13 golf courses with the short courses coming out there now. Like, how much staff can you have? Like, somebody's going to lose the eye on the bubble on something, and it all comes down to cost is all relative to value and experience. And it's like, once you start messing with the value and experience, the cost matters a lot. And
Yeah.
so I'm sensitive to what you're saying. I get it. Like, you're like, hey, we're not $100 value yet, but like, man, some of the stuff out there, it's wild in the golf world. That's all I'll say. It's just, we just literally did a podcast at our podcast that's releasing. So this will come out in a couple weeks. This one as a part of our US Open primer. So you'll see it. Our title, it's not just for clickbait. It's Are You Too Poor for Golf? And it's because we're including ourselves in that, but we're going into some of this stuff of USGA sending me blast emails, not me, but to everybody, of, hey, come get ready for Shinnecock in 26 packages starting $3,000 to $8,000. And we break all that stuff down, but it's akin, or, at least related to what you're talking about here of, man, there's a real, I get it. People are paying for it. But I was like, man, eventually something's going to happen.
It's not going to
guys.
last forever. And that's why there's a big renovation boom right now in public golf. We've got most of our work outside of years is renovation, bunker renovations, tee boxes, maybe updating greens, irrigation systems. But the only places being built right now are these massive either resort projects or these uber private, $50 million play, because you can't, a business person isn't going to go build, I need to build a golf course right now. Like, those places being built are not all straight business decisions. They'll be there and they'll pay, but it's a different model. So I think you're right. There is a bit of a bubble where some people are going to push that too far, but I think that's only going to help places like ours, where people are like, you know what, I might not need all this. It's cool. I might do it a few times, but like, I can be incrementally just as happy with this and overlook some of that. And I can do it, 5 or 6 times this summer, make that trip. So I think people are starting to back off some of that thing where, you know what, I don't need some of that.
Something that still blows my mind, we're talking about, what's being built right now. Like, when the Fields was built back in that, 80s, 90s area, everything was, tied to real estate. And what's very unique about the Fields is it's not lined with houses. It's very unique for its area. And I don't know what the origin story of that is. I don't know how you guys got, or how your dad somehow skated that arena during that time, where it's like,
he was just the architect. So I don't even think he got paid to do it. He was still selling turf grass equipment for Toro at the time, and that's how he got in the business. And so the guy that had the vision of building this place hired Dad, knew him from the golf business, and gave him a shot. So this really launched his design career. But the reason it doesn't have houses is because of what we're talking about. Callaway Gardens at the time was hosting the Buick Open. They regionally advertised. Reynolds Plantation didn't exist. Like, so there were people who would come from Tennessee, New Orleans, all over the Southeast to come play golf at Callaway Gardens. And they were booked. I mean, they had, hotels, all that stuff out there. So it was a destination property before there were destination properties. And again, PGA Tour event out there, all that stuff. And So we're on the same exit. You get off 185 at Highway 27, you turn left to go to Callaway Gardens. It's 15 minutes from us. You turn right to go here. So the owner specifically wanted a piece of property near Callaway that was good land. And his whole business model was to get the overflow from Callaway Gardens. And so he didn't build it as a, now most of the homes that are sold out here that are near it, he did develop that, but they wanted to keep it core golf. So they put that up against the interstate and picked the best piece of the hills and then put the houses off to the side. But if it wasn't for Callaway Gardens being that destination, this place probably never would have existed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that is wild. And good on them for making the land choice decision though too, right? Like that's I don't know if it was altruistic as you said earlier in the end game intention, but it was it ended up making for a pretty unique public golf experience. Adam, anything else? Going once.
I think I got to ask this. So if we'll just take money out of the equation, is there an upgrade that you would make, in the future? Like if money's not, a part of the equation, there's something that's just like in your head, like, man, this would be like fantastic.
Yeah, if money wasn't part of the equation, I mean, I'd rip the greens up. I would close two more. I would send an email out tonight when we hung up this podcast, tell people we were closed for the next 3 months, and I'd rip all the greens up and redo the surfaces. If money wasn't, that's what I would start.
Well,
and I'd have it back open by. I wouldn't change I would make them originally the greens were probably a little bigger. When they took them from bent to Bermuda, it looks like they shrunk them in some. Naturally, greens tend to get a little smaller, and you get some collar dams in there. So I wouldn't change anything massively on the contours. I would just take the contour. I would make the greens bigger, take the collar dams out where they flowed into the surrounds, and it looks like they were just mowed out of the surround. But I would just fix a few areas in the subsoil. I mean, right now when we're cutting cups, I mean, you can see there's 6 inches, almost a cup depth of 30 years of top dressing on there and organic matter before you get down to the original greens grade mix. So it's over years, it just stacks up. So I'd peel that top 6 inches off, keep the same contours, but we'd have it back open by the end of August, and it'd be pristine for the next 20 years. But these greens are 20 something years old. We can still keep a good surface on them, but money wasn't an option. Yeah, I'd close for 3 months and put some grass down, and it'd be rad.
I got a feeling that if that's something you really wanted to do down the road, you probably could have enough zealots that would probably help you guys keep that ship afloat for a couple months. Like I said, you might have to go to some unique modeling after to recoup some lost revenue, but it's there, man.
The good thing is Atlanta City public golf is so awful that I don't think you're gonna have a problem.
I totally forgot. I had that as a note of like the Fields has the greatest revenue stream right there, because Atlanta is a cesspool of golf options outside of a handful of
elites only.
Clubs. Yeah, it's a bad scene. It's funny when people find out, Golfberg, he's not on this, my cousin, he's out of Seattle, but when people find out Adam and I are out of Georgia, people, oh man, I got to get down to Georgia. I'm like, for what? Where are you going to play? East Lake, Augusta, and Peachtree? What are you coming down here for? Yeah. You ain't going to Atlanta. I mean, even within the Peachtree collective, they'll get a new guy that's coming into Georgia, and they're, what's the Atlanta golf scene? And they'll send them a link to Steel Canyon or something like that. I'm like, yeah, have fun, bud. But no, that is cool, because that's not a long trip for them to get down to you guys. But all right, Ashley, seriously, man, I appreciate. I know it's kind of getting late in the evening, and I'm assuming you are an early riser, so we appreciate the time. We appreciate the hospitality of having us out there. We'll certainly be back and supporters of you guys. But yeah, we just love everything you guys are doing, and we can't wait to continue to see it grow.
We appreciate it too. I mean, this stuff really does help. I mean, it's all word of mouth and people hearing the story. So I appreciate you guys being interested and having us on. So thank you.
Yep. No, hopefully more to come down the road. So Lettuce Heads, as always, we'll see you next week. And most importantly, stay plugged. Peace.